with Dominique Baker. I also just wanted to let you know that this webinar will be recorded and it'll be sent out to you tomorrow in case if you ever wanted to view it again. And so without further ado, I'll just hand it over to Dominique.
Thank you, William. Sorry, I muted myself there.
No
I'm
worries at all.
thrilled to be moderating tonight's discussion. It promises to be a great one, really, really informative. I'm a huge, huge fan of Vichy's products, and we're going to be providing you with a lot of information on everything tonight. So before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that please watch the whole webinar. It promises to be great. You'll learn a lot about the products and you'll have a chance to win your entire skincare routine. We'll also be offering 25% off your purchase at vichy.ca. So please feel free to shop your favorites tonight. We'll be providing a code for you guys. And yeah, you'll be on your way to great skin in no time. All right, William.
Perfect. So just before we begin, my name is William. I'm the head of medical communications here at Vichy, and I have the pleasure of presenting a whole bunch of information tonight. Hopefully, it'll be really useful to you in understanding aging in terms of skincare, and also seeing how certain products might be able to fit into your routine. And together with me, I'm also going to have Dominique. So Dominique is an amazing content creator, also an award-winning skincare and hair expert. And if ever you want to follow her, you might be able to just jump onto Instagram and search for Dominique Baker. And she's also present on YouTube.
Thank you, William. All right. So for today's agenda, we will be talking about the reasons for skin aging, most popular skin concerns. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat as we go along, but we'll be explaining all of that tonight as we go on, specifically wrinkles, dark spots, and loss of firmness, and how to regain some of that firmness. And lastly, number 3, we'll be discussing how to target these concerns, which active ingredients within the Vichy products you should be looking for to target your certain skincare concerns, your skincare routine, how best to apply these products, and product suggestions for whatever you're looking for. Oh, sorry, and be sure watch the entire presentation. You'll have a chance to win your entire skincare routine, as I mentioned, and you'll get an exclusive access to 25% off on the vichy.ca website. This is you'll get 25% off whatever you like on vichy.ca. Forgive me, I'm just going to close my window. My neighbor's dog is barking. Gotta love live presentations.
No problem, Dominique, and thanks so much for all that information. Before starting, I just wanted to remind you that tonight's webinar is not intended as medical advice. For any particular conditions or for personalized care, please remember to keep your healthcare professional and skin health partner as an ally, as you can refer to them for personal recommendations. So without further ado, let's jump into skin aging. And so in front of you, you have 2 diagrams, one illustrating what we might consider younger skin, and the second on the right showing a skin that has gone through some aging. So as the skin ages, we notice a change in its structure. Within the dermis, collagen, which is a protein associated with plumpness of skin, begins to decrease. Concomitantly, the elastic fibers that are associated with the bounciness begins to break down, while hyaluronic acid associated with hydration and fullness decreases. Melanocytes, which are the cells that produce our skin's pigment, decrease in number. However, they begin to increase in size. And this can sometimes result in what we refer to as age spots. Now, looking at these three pictures over here, we can see the effects of the aforementioned mechanisms and their effect or impact in causing visible signs of aging. So in the first picture, we can see fine lines and wrinkles. In the second, we can see a change in terms of skin tone and texture. And in the third, finally, we can see changes in facial volume.
So this is my concern. As a Black woman, I find as we age, I'm 43 years old, we don't suffer too much from wrinkles, but we most certainly are more prone to sagging. So yeah, I'm doing my daily morning exercises to lift those cheeks, but I'm really excited to learn what Vichy has to offer to help somebody like me out.
And you're looking great, Dominique. Don't worry about that. But hopefully today's advice, or the information that we have today will be useful, just so that we can better understand all of the mechanisms, and through that understanding, choose skincare routines that are most appropriate and personalized for each. And in terms of, we were talking about skin tone and textures. Some people sometimes notice what we call crepey skin. So skin that's a little bit more like crepe paper. It gets a little bit thinner, and it can sometimes be accompanied by fine lines and wrinkles. What we also see on the right side is that pores can sometimes become a little bit more prominent, along with increased pigmentation. And so when we're looking for the causes of skin aging, we can break them down into two major categories. And the first one on the left, genetics. So basically the genes that we're born with, and the second, the exposome factors. So basically we'll go into both of these a little bit more in detail, especially in terms of the exposome, if this is the first time that you're hearing about it. So in terms of genetics, so that first 20%, genetics can actually account for up to 20% of skin aging. And this includes several mechanisms that can sometimes start around the age of 25. So we're looking at the decreased production of DHEA. So this is sometimes colloquially called the youth hormone. And several mechanisms can actually start to naturally slow down the renewal of cells in the skin. And that can decrease the production of key skin components such as collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid. So over here, we see that the collagen becomes just a little bit less dense. The elastin fibers start to break down in that matrix. And we also have a loss in the content of hyaluronic acid. But now what about the rest of the causes that we can group up into the exposome? So while we've made amazing advancements in gene sequencing, today we're able to only attribute about 20% to genetics. And so we can regroup that 80% under an umbrella that we're going to call the exposome. And that's the science that studies the sum of all the internal and external factors that we're exposed to in a lifetime and their associated health outcomes. So these include a number of factors, but just to name a few, we're looking at sun exposure, pollution, stress, and smoking. So what's the result of all of this? It's really the acceleration of aging mechanisms of our skin. So again, the degradation of components that are sometimes associated to youth, collagen, and elastin.
William, do you think all the time we spend on our devices also affect our skin negatively?
That's
I
very
hear about blue light and like being emitted from phones affecting your skin. I'm wondering, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So as more and more studies are done, we start to see that other factors from our day-to-day, and especially from our work style, and we'll probably have more data after COVID with all of the working from home, but we see that wavelengths coming from the visible spectrum, such as blue light, can also have an impact on our skin. And that's going to be even more important with the following sections that we'll be covering about using daily photoprotection and making sure that we're able to cover all of those rays that are coming not only from our external environment, like the sun, but also coming from the devices that are surrounding us in our day-to-day.
Excellent. It's a way to get me off my phone. Tech neck, exactly. So this is actually a huge concern of mine. And I've been using Vichy Aj Filler, a great hyaluronic acid on my neck, because I have definitely seen more lines, more wrinkles on my neck. And it's always because I'm hunched over on my phone. So yeah, you know, obviously it's a mechanical thing. I need to focus on keeping my neck straight. But yeah, tech neck's a real thing.
Exactly. Always remember to keep that good posture when you're at home.
Thank you for the reminder.
I'll be careful myself.
All right, so we have a quiz for you guys. This is fun. So when do you wear sun protection? We've got 4 options here. Go ahead and enter. Okay, wow, we've got some great engagement here.
And I like the answer that's popping up. I see that a lot of people are answering number 2, so every day sunny or cloudy day.
That's excellent. So I work primarily in our home office here, and there's a window right there. And I put on my sunscreen even if I don't even head out outside. I'm just worried about the sun coming through the window.
Exactly, and even for me, I work with a window right next to me every single day. But it's so important to be wearing daily photo protection because, as we know, certain UV rays will go through the windows, and that's actually what we're going to look into right now.
Wonderful.
And so thanks so much for all of those answers. Thanks for your participation. It's really valuable. And it's really nice to see that 61% of you wear sun protection every day, despite the weather. So whether it's sunny or cloudy. And as previously mentioned, environmental aging accounts for roughly 80% of skin aging. And so what's even more remarkable is that out of that 80%, 70% of skin aging is actually attributed to UVA rays. Now, if we're looking at UV, there are 2 types that make it past the ozone layer into our everyday environment that surrounds us. So we have UVAs and we have UVB. So just as a quick technique to kind of remember which does what, let's think UV aging, and UVAs actually account for 95% of those UV rays. And for UVB, let's think UV burning, and those account for 5% of the UV rays that surround us. And what's important to note is that UVAs are actually present all year long and for a greater portion of the day, while UVBs are actually more present in the hours that are around noon and mostly in the spring and summer. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not present for the rest of the year. These are really just the times at which they're a little bit more prevalent. And like we were just saying before, between Dominique and I, being inside doesn't always protect us from the UV rays. UVAs in particular pass through windows and glass, while UVBs do not. And I'd just like to show you some pictures that actually illustrate this quite a bit. So if we look at the first picture on the left, this accurately portrays UVA penetration through glass. What we have is a person, so this gentleman was actually a truck driver for 28 years and was constantly exposed to UVAs from the left side, so from the driver's window. What it resulted in was in significantly more advanced skin aging on the left side versus the right. Now, we were talking about those two major types of skin aging factors, so genetics and the exposome. So on the two pictures on the right side, we have two identical twins. So that means that they share the same set of genes. However, the external factors, so their exposome factors, were quite different in terms of their lifestyle. So what we have is actually on the right side, a person that was exposed to more smoke, to prolonged sun exposure. And as you can see, those were eventually associated with the accelerated signs of skin aging versus her sister. And you can also see that there are signs of hyperpigmentation and wrinkles.
That photo of the truck driver just gets me every time. I'll never get used to that. And I can't believe these are twins. They're almost, you know, I wouldn't be able to tell.
Exactly. The differences that we can see in terms of the skin texture and the tone are really quite striking. And the fact that they are identical twins and that they share that same genetic set really just helps to reinforce the fact that the 80% that accounts for the exposome is actually very important and has a huge part to play in terms of skin aging. I myself, when I see that first picture on the left side, always think about my window, and I'm always working in this direction. So I'm thinking it's super important every single day that I apply, sufficient photo protection, but that I also reapply throughout the day, just to be sure that in terms of UVA exposure, which comes straight through the glass, that I'm always protected.
So Beatrice Stevens, the lovely Beatrice, she has asked a really great question. So for dark skin, does it really make a difference if it's chemical or physical sunscreen? We do have an answer in the comments, but that's something a lot of my followers ask. What is the difference between the two? So we'll get to this, but wanted to flag that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And definitely we'll get to that question. If I just give perhaps a quick sneak peek as to what we're expecting as a response. In terms of these two different types of filters, organic filters, which are sometimes called chemical, help to absorb and deactivate the sun rays that are coming onto our skin, whereas mineral filters act a little bit like disco balls. So we see them really deflecting the rays. And what's important to note is that when they're deflecting, they deflect in any direction. So that means that it could go externally, but also towards the skin. And that's going to be where it'll be important to combine mineral photoprotection together with an antioxidant. But that's just a little tidbit that we'll start with right there.
Wonderful. All right, so we have another quiz. How many skincare products do you have in your routine? So go ahead and answer. I'm interested to see this. I see we don't have the 10 to 12 step option.
And so I find it's cutting it pretty close between 4, 5, and 6. They're not too far off.
Excellent. Yeah, that's pretty good. So right now we're at 33% of you have 6 products in your routine, followed by 31% at 5 products. So that's pretty impressive.
That is. And then we have 24% for 4 and 12% for 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that insight.
Okay, so William, the actual skincare routine. What should be a morning and night anti-aging routine?
Great, thanks. And I think this question comes from Natalia. So first, just wanted to thank you, Natalia, for your question. And what I can say is that there are a number of routines that can be used. And for a personalized one, I recommend that you discuss with your skincare partner, just so that we can find the right arrangement for you. However, for daytime skincare routines, these could generally include something like a booster to start with. As I'm the head of medical communications at Vichy, I just set up a few Vichy products over here for the sake of example. But we could start with a booster as a step 0, followed by a serum with active ingredients that help plump and brighten the appearance of skin. So for example, I'm thinking about serums that contain hyaluronic acid, or if not, a vitamin C serum, for example, that can help in terms of conferring an antioxidant protection.
So William, I have a question here from Dorothea. She's, oh, excuse me, from Eugenia. Eugenia, thank you so much for watching tonight. Is it true that we need to expose unprotected skin to the sun for approximately 15 minutes for the formation of vitamin D? So I've heard this. I've heard this before. You don't want to completely block out your vitamin D. Should we be exposing ourselves to the sun a little bit for our bodies to absorb that vitamin D before we put on our sunscreen? Is that a thing?
So just in terms of direct sun exposure, I'd say that one thing to take into consideration is really like any type of medical conditions that could be present, any type of photosensitizing medication that a person is taking, pre-existing conditions, because those, I believe, are factors that could come into play as to whether or not a person should be exposing themselves directly to sunlight. So just in terms of direct and personalized recommendations, just be sure that if you're taking any medications or if you do have any conditions that you do speak to your healthcare professional, just to make sure that you are not going to be photosensitizing the skin. However, in terms of sun exposure, there will be a few minutes a day where, inevitably, you won't be wearing sunscreen. And so during that time, it's true that sun exposure can help in terms of synthesis of certain things like vitamin D. However, our studies also have shown us that when using effective sunscreen, that we won't be blocking the rays completely. So some of the rays will still be able to go through, and that those won't interrupt, for example, certain types of synthesis, such as vitamin D. However, in terms really of particular recommendations, just because this does touch the medical sphere, always be sure to talk to your healthcare professional.
Okay, that's great. We have one other question here. We actually have quite a few questions. How often should you reapply your sunscreen during the day? And do you have a product for that to apply over makeup?
So in terms of reapplication, generally, Health Canada is going to recommend that we reapply about every 2 hours, or if ever there was any type of activity or event that made the sunscreen come off. So we're thinking about really profuse sweating or going into the pool or swimming, for example. So general recommendation is we reapply every 2 hours. In terms of application that can be done over makeup, there are sometimes some options like, for example, the stick that can help us to reapply throughout the day. And that really helps us to target as well the areas where we know that the sunscreen could have come off. But again, in general, it's really important that all surfaces of skin exposed to the sun have some reapplication every 2 hours.
Okay, excellent.
And just in terms of this anti-aging protocol, we were talking about the serums that we could apply, and then we were just talking about the sun protection. So it's really important here, for example, at the end of the routine, that we integrate a moisturizing product that can confer some sun protection, and that would usually make a pretty well-rounded routine for somebody.
So this is something actually that I've been using quite frequently. I really like, so many of you are asking if this has a white cast or I just wanted to show you. So it absorbs quite readily. I'm dark skinned, and that absorbs very well, doesn't leave a white cast, doesn't make you look bluish or ashy if you're dark skinned. And I use it every single day. And regarding makeup, I find it doesn't affect makeup application whatsoever. If anything, it gives you a healthy glow.
Great. That's a really nice demonstration. Thanks so much, Dominique.
You're welcome. So the evening anti-aging protocol.
Exactly. And actually, just before going into the evening, I do believe there was a question that came in regarding different types of serums. For example, a person that would be using an HA serum or a vitamin C serum, and how to use them concomitantly, or if one should be used versus another. So one thing that we can look into actually is that generally, we prefer to go with a lighter to a heavier serum, but it can also go by preference. So for example, because both of them are quite lightweight over here, if a person prefers to go with their vitamin C first and then afterwards the Lyft Active HA or vice versa, both would be acceptable. But as a general rule of thumb, we usually like to go lighter weight to heavier weight.
That's perfect. That's great to know. Find a lot of people are a little confused as to how to apply products, but we will get to that. That's helpful.
Perfect. And now, just looking at the evening protocol, again, there are so many protocols that we could use, and really the one that works best is the one that's personalized for you. So always remember to talk to your skin health partner. But just for the sake of example, an evening routine could include a skincare booster to start. So always with a step 0, for example, like Mineral 89. And that can be followed by a serum with active ingredients. So in this example, we used HA Wrinkle Filler. And in replacement of the vitamin C, we put retinol over here. So a product that's often applied more in the evening in terms of tolerance, but also in terms of helping for repair, as the skin will be going more into repair mode. And we'll be finishing that off with a moisturizer. So usually evening creams tend to be a little bit thicker, and that's why we'll also be placing it at the end of this routine over here.
William, I have a question.
Sure.
Should you be waiting for your products to dry before you proceed to the next step? So I really love, one of my favorites I've been using for a long time now is the Vichy Mineral 89 serum. And it's got, you know, a bit more of a more wet consistency. I know people are in a rush. They're always in a rush to get ready. And I just love this stuff. I wish it came in a giant gallon jug so I could just dive into it. But anyways, are there benefits to waiting a little bit, slowing down your routine a bit, and letting your products, let's say, dry or set before, you know, proceeding to the next step?
That's such a pertinent question. Thanks so much, Dominique. And I would
You know,
say
I
it
just want to say,
depends.
one of my followers said that she was worried about all of her skincare coming off on her pillow. So I'm like, oh.
I would say that the answer really depends on the product. So it's going to be both a yes and no. If we just use, for example, the slide that we have in front of us, just as a visual aid, if we're talking about Mineral 89 and Lyft Active HA Wrinkle Filler, it's not so important to wait for the skin to fully dry in between these two steps over here. However, where it becomes a little bit more important is going to be for the retinol. So for the Lyft Active Retinol HA. We don't want to be applying that on a damp skin. We really want to be sure that we're applying it on dry skin. However, if ever a person were using, like, let's say, an emollient-rich product, then that would be possible. But in terms of having actual moisture or water on the skin, we really want to be sure that the skin is dry first before we apply the retinol HA. So thanks so much for that question. I think that was a really pertinent, a pertinent one to make sure that applications were done properly, and also to make sure that we can slow down where we can,
That's
whether in the morning or in the evening.
honestly, that's part of my self-care routine. And I've gotten so used to it that I feel a little low when I don't do it. Just slowing down the like getting ready for bed process and savoring every step of my skincare. It like triggers my mind for sleepy time.
Absolutely, and I think it's not it's I think it's a great thing as well, you know, just to learn to wind down and to take those precious moments for some self-care.
Exactly, exactly. So Ember has a question. How old should you be to start an anti-aging regimen?
Thanks so much for your question, Ember. That's one that we get actually quite often. Um, and so the the answer is going to be a little bit more flexible. And in general, what we see is that collagen, hyaluronic acid, and hormonal changes that impact skin aging can sometimes actually start in the mid-20s. And so as with most things, prevention really plays a key role over here. And it's generally agreed that the use of approved antioxidants and sun protection can be used in adults as of any age. So really that can be a good way to start preventing the signs of aging in the skin. Afterwards, as certain symptoms or certain signs develop, or as you get certain concerns, it can then be personalized to fit certain types of products into your routine based on your skincare professional's recommendations for you.
That's excellent. I would have answered William straight at birth. That's a better answer. I'm just kidding. What for myself, what I started with for my anti-aging, and this is a while ago, is using the Vichy Aj Filler. I have lines right here, and those are inherited from my wonderful dad. I don't want to get rid of them completely because I look at them and I see my dad, but they get a little deep sometimes. And I would put the HA filler. You see, it has a really cool mechanism right here, the applicator tip. You can squeeze that, which makes it so easy to target whatever area you want to put it on. So that's what I was concerned with the most. When I started to age, those got a little deeper, and I would honestly just put the HA right in there just to target it and not waste any product and put it right in. Definitely saw a difference. I have like a few fine lines. I'm blessed they're not too bad, but they look better, that's for sure. And I myself started my anti-aging, I feel a little late in life, like in my mid 30s. So yeah.
And thanks so much for that demo. I think it's really pertinent because we have this really nice packaging where, you know, we're able to prevent contamination because we're not putting our fingers into anything. We're just able to drop the product out of the container, but really getting to know, you know, that little spot that's right close to the tip where we can squeeze, it allows us to control how many drops are actually coming out. So thanks a lot for that demo, Dominique.
You're welcome. And, you know, I take care not to touch the dropper to my face. I just, you know, add the little drops in. But yeah, I do love that about that particular product. It's a nice feature.
That's a great tip. I think I'll use that as well.
There you go. So how to target signs of aging? This I love.
Perfect. So actually, let's really start from the basics. So I think a good place to start is going to be looking at the active ingredients and then building our way up eventually towards certain products that contain these active ingredients. So we're going to look at some star, I think, active ingredients that we see. So first, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, and retinol.
So I have a question, William. We've got it from Maria. Is it okay to use HA and vitamin C together in the morning? I'll let you go ahead and explain, and maybe that'll shed some light on, you know, the sequence of products.
Absolutely.
Product application, yeah.
And actually, we saw it a little bit in the slides before when we were looking at the routines, but both of them can be combined. So for example, using an HA wrinkle filler followed by a vitamin C serum. And in terms of the order of application, we can really go in terms of preference because they're both pretty lightweight. But we generally like to start with the lighter to the heaviest. And also another thing that we can do is we can always alternate them as well. So if ever you prefer to start with the vitamin C serum and then the Lyft Active, or vice versa, both of those are okay.
Wonderful.
And so just looking at some of the top recommended active ingredients that we're seeing, we really see that for fine lines, wrinkles, firmness, and texture, we're looking more at vitamin C, retinol, and hyaluronic acid. And when we're talking more about dark spots and radiance, that's when we'll be seeing more of vitamin C and retinol. And so I think one important thing to clarify, because when we look at, a package, we'll see a list of ingredients, but what exactly is an active ingredient? And so just a little definition over here. An active ingredient is something or an ingredient that performs a specific function for a specific condition. And active ingredients are those that are found in our skincare products that have an intended purpose. So that's really going to be the class of ingredients that we'll be looking at today. And so if we just delve into some of these over here, I'd like to start with hyaluronic acid. I think that we hear a lot about it today, right, Dominique?
Definitely. Definitely. It's a hot topic.
Absolutely. And so hyaluronic acid is the body's natural hydrator. It's a humectant, so it's naturally found in the skin. And what's really interesting to note is that 50% of the body's hyaluronic acid is actually found in the skin. And what's really nice about this, so this really superhero product, is that it holds up to 1,000 times its molecular weight in water. And thanks to its properties, the skin is protected from external aggressors that can sometimes dry it out. So we can also think of hyaluronic acid, because of where it sits in the skin, as a medium. And through this medium, it also allows for the cells to communicate between each other. So when we're thinking about what it's associated to, we're really going to be linking hyaluronic acid to skin hydration, to elasticity, plumpness at the surface, but also smoothing the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. And if we jump into our next star ingredient, I've heard a lot about vitamin C recently, but sometimes we can easily get lost, I think, in some of the technicalities that we see. And that's, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think our attendees will greatly appreciate this. There's a lot of questions about vitamin C. Should women of color only use vitamin C at night? Should you only use vitamin C in the morning? Should you be using it in conjunction with so on and so forth? So yes, this will be informative. I think this will answer a lot of questions.
Great. Yeah, I really hope that this section is going to help us out. If ever there's anything that I don't answer, Dominique, please feel free to flag it, and then we can go into it a little bit more.
Yes, go ahead.
So in terms of vitamin C, like hyaluronic acid, it's also naturally found in the body, but we'll also find it as ingredients in certain types of skincare. And what's important to note is that vitamin C is really a broad term that encompasses different forms. And this is where it can sometimes get a little bit confusing when you're in the store or when you're looking at different products. So you might see L-ascorbic acid, you might see ascorbyl glucoside, you might see trihexyldecyl ascorbate, and way more other terms. But keep in mind that each form of vitamin C has its own set of characteristics. And that's really going to be affecting things like stability, absorption, but also the way that it's metabolized through the skin. So for the sake of time, I chose actually two forms of vitamin C that we can discuss a little bit more. So first on the left, we have L-ascorbic acid. So I think this is the one that we hear a lot about, sometimes referred to as the gold standard, but it's the purest form of vitamin C. It's also the one that's the most bioavailable. So that means that it's the portion that can be used by your body.
William, I have a quick question about the vitamin C. Sorry. Once you open the container, how long is it good for if you're using it daily?
So that
Maybe
really
you can speak to the stability when.
exactly. So that really depends on the type of vitamin C that we're looking at. So I think this is particularly pertinent for L-ascorbic acid. And generally, once the container is opened, it can be it's left stable, sorry, for about 28 days. What's really important to refer to is going to be the packaging, just as each different product can have its own set of particularities based on the type of glass, for example, that's used, whether or not it's amber or clear, and also the form of vitamin C that's inside. But if we're really talking about like a general L-ascorbic acid serum, that's in, like, let's say a glass vial, then it will generally be 28 days after opening.
Okay.
Mhm. And just continuing on L-ascorbic acid, it's what we consider as being the most effective form just because it doesn't require any type of conversion. So it's already ready to start working. It has high antioxidant properties, and it has a great efficacy in terms of radiance and targeting pigmentation. However, like we were saying and linked to your question, it can sometimes be a little bit more touchy in terms of stability. So it can oxidize easily, and that's why we take those extra precautions in making sure that they're in glass vials. Sometimes they'll be in single-use ampoules, and also, you know, that they're kept well sealed in their bottle once we're not using them as well. So important not to just leave them open on the counter. And then we can look at a second type of vitamin C, which we'll call ascorbyl glucoside. So sometimes on packaging, you might see this as vitamin CG. And what's really nice with this, it is a synthetic derivative of pure vitamin C. However, in terms of packagings that can be left open or that are more exposed to the air, this is really where we'll come and get its strengths. So it's more stable than L-ascorbic acid, and it's not as sensitive to light or oxygen exposure, but it still retains its high antioxidant properties. Now, where we can sometimes see it as a weakness, but not always so, is that it requires a conversion. So it means that once it's in the skin, it needs to be transformed in order to be released as ascorbic acid. So because it takes extra time, we can sometimes also see it as a time-released form of vitamin C.
So William, Beatrice has another great question. Beatrice, you're wonderful. With what was just said, should we be careful about where we store our vitamin C? Is there anything the consumer can do on her end for properly storing her products? So for instance, Instagram keeps telling me to buy a skincare fridge. Is that something that we should consider? For instance, our bathroom here is pretty large, but it still gets hot and steamy during showers. And it also has big glass windows, so it gets freezing in the winter. So is there anything that we can do to take extra care to protect our skincare? I actually always tuck everything away in drawers or the medicine cabinet, and try to keep it cool. So any other
Right.
suggestions?
Absolutely. So the first one I would say would be to check the labeling, just to make sure that there aren't any particularities that you really have to be mindful of.
Right.
The second thing is really just trying to keep it in a stable room temperature setting.
Okay.
So what's important is try to avoid all of these unexpected factors. So we're talking about, like, let's say a bathroom that's exposed to a lot of steam, that's exposed to a lot of temperature variations, that's exposed to different light variations as well. And we want to try to keep all of that stable. So really keeping any type of skincare and really general skincare in a consistent environment that's protected from light and where it can be stored at stable, relatively stable room temperature would be what I would recommend.
Wonderful. So Anne-Marie, I would probably keep your vitamin C out of the fridge. She just asked quickly.
So in There are no particular recommendations to keep it in the fridge. In terms of how, for example, our vitamin C at Vichy is stored, we really just recommend room temperature. And this is really just to make sure that we're not putting in any factors that weren't necessarily studied into play when we were formulating or packaging our products. So really, general rule of thumb, room temperature, and avoid any types of oscillations in external factors, humidity, heat or coldness, and also light exposure.
Okay.
And the next star ingredient that we'll just be delving into is going to be retinol. So retinol, like vitamin C, is going to be the name of a molecule that's in a greater family. So we'll call it the vitamin A family. And it's been something that's been really widely studied time and time again. It's shown its worth as an active ingredient in different settings and for different conditions. And what we see generally is that retinol has been associated with the improvement of visible signs of skin aging, but also in terms of skin texture. And just to name a few, what we've seen is an association with skin renewal, smoothing, the refinement or decrease in appearance of fine lines, decrease pore prominence, but also decrease oil and sebum production.
Yes. I find it really helped my hyperpigmentation, as you know, it makes the cells turn over a bit faster. I used to suffer from really terrible acne. I didn't use retinol when my acne was quite bad, but once I got it under control, retinol really helped.
Yeah, that's great. And always, it's really important as well with these types of products. If ever there's a particular condition, so for example, we're talking about acne. I'm sure, for example, that a healthcare professional or a skincare partner was able to direct you and just be sure that you were using the right percentage, but also at the right moments, and that in terms of like your particular health conditions that could be present, that those are evaluated first just before we use it. And so we have another quiz question for you. So with all of this information that we've gone through, with these different ingredients and with the discussion that we've had, and thanks so much for feeding that discussion, Dominique, and also all of the attendees today, we'd just like to set up another quiz, and we'd like to know what your favorite active ingredient is. I think there's a clear preference for number 4.
I love that. They're my best friends. They're my team, my all-star team.
I think we were probably expecting that 4th answer to come up as the majority results. But thanks for confirming that. Really appreciated.
I would say for me, vitamin C is the captain of my team, but yeah, that's my crew.
And so now that we've seen all of these active ingredients, I think it's important that we take the time to look at some of the products and the more practical side, see where these can maybe fit in into certain types of products that we can find on the market.
Wonderful. So we've got our top Vichy anti-aging products, and William's going to run through all of them for us, and I'll give you a little demo.
Perfect. And so I think one place that we can start is with Lyft Active Supreme HA Wrinkle Filler, right, Dominique?
That's right. So as I mentioned, it comes in this bottle. I really like this bottle as well because it's easy to hold. I find a lot of them are long and thin. And like I mentioned, it's got that dropper that's very easy to use. So you can either deposit it wherever you want on your face, or you can just go ahead and squeeze whatever desired amount you want into the palm of your hand and go ahead and apply it to your entire face. Since I don't waste anything.
And no, we wouldn't want to let any of that go to waste, right?
Absolutely not.
And so what's really nice with the Lyft Active Supreme HA Wrinkle Filler is that we're going to be having three major active ingredients. So for the first one, we have 1.5 pure hyaluronic acid. We'll also have peptides accompanied with vitamin CG. So that's going to be that ascorbyl glucoside that we saw. And in this packaging, it's really free of fragrance, free of silicone, and also free of alcohol. And it's a product that's been recognized as a skin health product by the Canadian Dermatology Association. And it's really important for us here at Vichy to make sure that we have scientific data to back all of our products and really be sure that we took the time to study everything. So we have a multitude of studies for all of our products, but just for the sake of time, we've selected a few for each of these products that had some key messages that were consistent all across the board. So in this particular clinical study, there were 53 women. They were aged between 40 to 65 years old, and they had dry to very dry skin with mild to moderate fine lines and wrinkles. And what the study was verifying was the use of 2 to 3 drops per day for 6 weeks. So we had check marks at 2 weeks, at 4 weeks, and also at 6 weeks. What we were able to see is that within 2 weeks, the clinical scoring showed a reduction of 14% in the appearance of wrinkles and 19% in the appearance of fine lines. When we went at the 4-week mark, we actually asked the participants to assess. So I think that's really important because it allows us to see if we're having consistent results, both in terms of the evaluators' perception and their scoring chart and the participants' perception. And what we were able to see are really high scores. So 96% felt that their skin was more plump, 95% that their skin was smoother and healthier in appearance, and 92% evaluated a more youthful appearance. Afterwards, if we return back to the clinical scoring that was done in the study at the 6-week mark, it showed a 47% reduction in the appearance of wrinkles and a 60% reduction in the appearance of fine lines. And so back to you, Dominique.
Look at me, standard Zoom mistake. Sorry about that. Next up, we have the 15% vitamin C brightening corrector, and we've got it in this little dropper bottle here. And in the amber bottles, well protected from the sun and other factors. There you go. So it is a slightly orange color, I would say yellow, and has a really light texture. I would liken it to, it's like a really thin, lovely, comfortable feeling, a little oily, but not heavy. It's lovely. It's a favorite. It's fragrance free, absorbs very well.
Lovely. Thanks so much for that demo, Dominique.
You're welcome.
And so the Vichy Lift Active 15% vitamin C brightening corrector contains 15% vitamin C. So we're now looking at that first type that we were studying together, the Ascorbic acid. And that's combined with hyaluronic acid and also vitamin E as an antioxidant. And just like Dominique was saying, it's free of fragrance, free of silicone, and also free of alcohol.
Wonderful.
And so we do also have some studies to accompany this product over here. And what we had was a clinical scoring that was done on 52 women aged between 40 to 65 years of age, applying the corrector once daily. So the evaluators over here assessed 24% firmer looking skin after the first use. And there was afterwards an increase in radiance of 21% after 10 days, and that then increased to 40% after 4 weeks. So looking at the ingredients in the corrector, we have vitamin C to aid in terms of collagen production. We have hyaluronic acid that's there to assist in skin plumping and also smoothing. We have vitamin E as vitamin C's partner. So really we should see them a little bit as a duo that are helping each other out in terms of their antioxidant properties and helping to renew the other. And those antioxidants are really going to help us in terms of minimizing the effects of the exposome. So if you remember, those are going to be our internal, external factors, and those can include things like pollution. And finally, the vitamin E is also going to be helping us in terms of soothing the skin. And all of that, just like all of our Vichy products, is also going to contain Vichy Volcanic water. So this is a particular water with 15 minerals. And in the studies that have been done, what we saw was that Vichy Volcanic water on its own helped to strengthen the skin. So after this product, Dominique, what's next?
Oh, sorry. We have got the Vichy Lift Active Retinol HA Concentrate. Oh, I'm sorry, I've grabbed the wrong product. Oh, so yes, so this is your retinol. It comes in a metal tube. I'm so sorry. I
No
don't know where I've
worries.
placed it. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No
Okay,
worries.
so it comes in a tube, and I believe it's got a long applicator as well, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes. So this is great. I use mine at night. I use retinol at night. Even though my skin has totally cleared up from the acne, I just find retinol has brightened up my skin. I look at pictures of myself from years ago, and I had much darker skin along here, and this really helped to brighten it up. It's really great for the prevention of wrinkles and reducing the look.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And so when we're delving into the ingredients of this product, so Lyft Active Retinol HA, what we're finding is going to be 0.2% retinol. So remember that retinol is part of the vitamin A family. There's also going to be hyaluronic acid as well as a proprietary molecule that has anti-aging properties called LR2412. And so just like with the other products, we have some data to show you. And in a clinical study, after 4 weeks of Lyft Active Retinol HA concentrate, there was a 19% decrease in frowning lines. So that's sometimes called the 11. So those are going to be those lines right over here. And there was a 17% decrease in nasolabial folds, or the laugh lines. Those are going to be near the nose, and a 30% decrease in perioral wrinkles, so sometimes also called the laugh lines. So those are going to be just near the mouth. And what's also interesting is that the results also went, what's also interesting in the results is that we also did a head-to-head study. So that was comparing Vichy Retinol HA concentrate against 0.025% tretinoin in a double-blind study. So that means that neither the participants nor the evaluators knew what the participant was going to be receiving as a product. So it just helps to remove any type of bias. And with the application, the application was attributed based on the product as twice daily. And they were then evaluated at day 0, 28, 56, and 84. And what's interesting to note is really the fact that we have very similar results between the two products. So if we just look over here, Vichy Retinol HA concentrate in terms of the glabella facial region, it had a 19.4% reduction in terms of fine lines in that area versus 21.8. And so if we just look all across the board, we see that it's really quite consistent between the two. And so I'll hand it back to you, Dominique, to continue on Vichy's Lyft Active line.
Wonderful. So now we have the Vichy Lift Active Specialist SPF 30 broad spectrum anti-aging cream, and that is your SPF right here. Comes in a really handy bottle. I use this personally in the morning. I walk my dog first thing in the morning as well, but I also carry another one that I keep in my purse because you should be reapplying during the day, especially if you're outdoors a lot. Here is your applicator, and as I've noted earlier, it really has a nice texture. I would say that it's rich, but it's not heavy, and it really fades into your skin nicely. It doesn't feel, I find a lot of sunscreens can be quite heavy, sticky, have that white cast, make you feel a little like, I don't know, like you've got a lot of product on your face. This I would liken to a favorite skin cream. It melts into your skin nicely, and you don't feel it. It's a really nice product.
Really like that you mentioned, the texture, because it's true, like everybody can have different preferences, but we can also find different textures on the market. And when we're talking about photo protection, I think one important message is going to be that the best photo protection is the one that you wear, right? So being able to find that texture that works for you, and that makes it easy to reapply, and that makes it enjoyable as well to use, is something that's really going to help in terms of making sure that we reapply every 2 hours or whenever it's come off of our skin, for example.
Right. I think it's a really nice product, especially as we're obviously heading into summer. Here in Ottawa, it's like you're in the Caribbean. It goes up to 40 degrees, and then you've got the humidity. So I do really prefer products like this that don't feel like you've spread Vaseline all over your face. Yet in the winter, it's a really solid moisturizer.
Exactly. And that's why, for example, in the routine that we were using as an example at the beginning for the daytime routine, we put it as the last step. So something that could act as both the moisturizer, but also as the sun protection. And that's really what we see over here in Lyft Active Specialists SPF 30, when we have our broad spectrum protection with an SPF of 30, but it's also combined with biopeptides and vitamin CG. And all of this always together with Vichy volcanic water. And so I just wanted to also look at some studies that we saw with this. And it was a study that we had performed with 57 women. And after 2 months of use, what we saw was that in terms of clinical scoring, there was a reduction of 30% in terms of dark spots, 45% in wrinkles, and an increase in radiance of 31%.
Wonderful.
And one thing that's also pretty important to keep in mind is what type of filters are inside and what do these filters do for you. So I just wanted to show this little slide over here because it's important to break down the UV protection that we're getting. So thanks to the four filters that we're using, so it's going to be octocrylene, which is photostabilized together with avobenzone, homosalate, and octisalate, we're able to have a large spectrum protection. So that means that we're protecting the skin from the UVB rays, but we're also protecting it from short and long UVA rays. And we know how important that is because 70% of the skin aging is due to UVA ray exposure. So just being able to have a simple product where we're both moisturizing the skin but also protecting is really helping us in terms of any type of protection from that entire exposome range.
The lovely Melody Huber here has a great question. Can we use this moisturizer at night as well?
So in terms of this moisturizer, it does contain SPF 30. So at nighttime, we know that there is going to be less exposure to the UVA rays. And so at that point, it would be possible perhaps in a skincare routine in the evening, rather to put a nighttime cream instead. That would be a little bit heavier, but that can also help in terms of repairing the skin and can sometimes have some more ingredients that are more related to repair. But in terms of this particular product, it's probably more adapted for use during the day.
Great. So we have a question from an attendee, Mona. How to build collagen in your skin. This I love because yes, as I'm getting older, I would really like to know about this.
Thanks so much for your question, Mona. So in general, certain molecules in skincare can help your body boost its production of collagen. So amongst these are some of the ingredients that we already saw. We're talking about peptides, we're talking about vitamin C. And through topical application, of course, there are other ingredients such as rhamnose that can help travel together with hyaluronic acid, where it can actually help your body to signal the production of collagen. So definitely with the help of certain types of skincare products and with the help of the active ingredients that we had seen before, those can definitely help in terms of boosting the skin's collagen production.
Great answer.
And thanks again so much for your question, Mona. I think that was really pertinent.
So we would love your feedback on tonight's session. If you give your feedback, you'll have a chance to win your entire anti-aging routine. So please go ahead and submit your thoughts. These products are great. I'm confident that you'll like them. A short survey will be sent to you via email tomorrow, so look out for that. Your exclusive online offer, 25% off site-wide. You also, it is also applied to the 8-piece gift sets on orders $75 or more, and there's no code needed. So you can photograph, scan the QR code right here.
Thanks so much for that, Dominique. And if ever, for example, for whatever reason, you don't have the image anymore, or if you can't access the QR code, just in case, that'll also be sent to you in an email after the webinar. So don't worry.
That's great. Thanks for that, William.
And if ever you notice or if ever you need any extra help just to kickstart or to start your routine, or even just to better understand your skin's strengths or its weaknesses, you can get a free skin analysis via Skin Consult AI, which is on vichy.ca. But definitely, as I said throughout the presentation, for personalized care, or if you have any skin concerns, or if you have any conditions, we always invite you to consult a dermatologist or your healthcare professional, just so that there can be a professional diagnostic and follow-up. And as well, just like with the 25% QR code, this is a QR code that you can use just to facilitate access to Skin Consult AI.
That's excellent. That's so cool.
Definitely. And so if ever you wish to continue learning about Vichy, if you want to know about any updates or other webinars like the one that we had tonight, you can always feel free to sign up to our newsletter, and that way we'll always have an open communication channel with you. So I just want to thank everybody tonight for your participation. Thanks so much for joining us, especially, at 8 p.m. We know that, you may have had a long day, but we really appreciate your presence, but also your interaction with Dominique and I.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And William, can I say, you've got a lot of fans in the chat here. We could all listen to you all night. You have a lovely voice.
Oh, really? Thank you so much. I can't see the chat in front of me because of the presentation right now, but that's really heartwarming. Thank you, everybody.
Well, I hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you again for tuning in.
Thank you, everybody. And Dominique, to you as well. Thank you so much for hosting this webinar with me tonight. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Oh, you as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're so welcome.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great evening.